I will now call this meeting to order. Welcome to the Tuesday, April 15th, 2025 meeting of the Glynn County Mainlands Island Planning Commission. We will now have the invocation and pledge if you'd like to stand with me. Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to gather here. We thank you for the opportunity to serve our community. Pray your blessings on this meeting and all the people involved. Pray that you'll guide us and keep us safe as we travel home. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to go over the meeting procedures. The planning staff presents the application request to the Planning Commission during the staff's report. This report evaluates how the proposal conforms to the Glynn County zoning ordinance and other applicable regulations and conforms to the comprehensive plan when applied to zoning matters and ordinances. Applicants shall have the opportunity to present their request to the Planning Commission. It is the responsibility of the applicants to make presentations on request and to address any conditions or factual findings with which they do not agree. Public hearings, the public comments on public hearing items will be limited to 30 minutes for each opposing side with a maximum of 5 minutes allocated to each speaker. Comments are to be limited to relevant information regarding your position and should avoid being repetitious. If your group has a spokesperson, please allow that individual to present your group's position in the time allotted. The applicant may then provide a rebuttal to any testimony. The chairman may terminate testimony if it becomes repetitive. The chairman will terminate a speaker's time if the speaker begins personal attacks. Your cooperation in this process will be greatly appreciated. Staff, are there any announcements?
Yes. Good evening. Christopher Carey, Glynn County Planning and Zoning. We do have one announcement. So we do have a new senior planner, Ms. Christina Wright. So she's a local who is returning back from Florida, so we welcome her and thank her for joining our team.
Welcome. We will now approve the minutes from our last meeting held on January 10th, wrong date. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Do we have a second? All those in favor? It's unanimous. We are now at the public hearing portion of our meeting. First item on the agenda is CUP-25-1 215 Unit 1 Mallory Conditional Use Permit. Staff.
Good evening. Christopher Carey, Glynn County Planning and Zoning. Before you tonight, we have an application for a conditional use permit for CUP-25-1. Boba Bowie, and it's at 215 Mallory Street, Suite 1. Parcel number 04-04636. It is in the Village Mixed Use and Island Preservation Zoning District, and it is for a restaurant/cafe. Here's the site. It's located in the Pier Village Market, and it'll be this first window on the, is that my left, your right, or our left? The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to operate a restaurant, Boba Bowie, which is a boba tea shop. It will have a cafe, some light refreshments, and soft drinks and coffee. There are two existing businesses that are similar in use, Sunset Slush and the Crepe Shop. So here's where it is located, as well as a conceptual menu showing their offerings. these are your possible motions. Staff does have a recommended motion if you would choose to recommend approval of this application. There are some outstanding things to be sorted out with joint water and sewer, some additional upgrades that need to be done. So if you did choose to recommend approval to the Board of Commissioners, this would be your recommended motion. And that is all from staff.
Any questions for staff?
I guess I do. Is it? No, I don't currently. Hold on. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chris.
Yes, sir. And the applicant is here as well.
Okay. Would you like to come forward and speak?
Good evening, everyone. Coming from the Philippines, I've been living here for 9 years, and looking at the Pier Village, we have so many tourists there. They're from different parts of the country, and I feel like we're lacking a lot of beverages, choices in there. We cannot find any coffee, any tea, anything that are, it's so hot, it's so humid. I think it's really a perfect addition, not only for the Pier Village, but for the whole community, to introduce some good beverages to the people that is walking to the pier and enjoying the beautiful place that we're living at.
Could you state your name, please?
Can you say that again?
State your name, please.
My name is Hazel Bartow. I go with Zell.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
Are you required to have a grease trap?
Yes, sir.
And do you have one?
And I do have a grease trap currently, and the joint water and sewer base, I talked to Mr. Andrew from the joint water and sewer, and I just need to change the size, which I'm gonna order it tonight. I get their approval today for the new grease trap that we're gonna be installing as soon as possible. And yes, sir.
Good for you. Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I don't have any.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We will now open the public hearing portion of our meeting. Anyone that would like to come speak in favor of the project? Anyone would like to speak opposed to the project? We'll close our public hearing.
Could you pull back up the motion that staff recommends? Thank you.
Chris, could you just remind us why they have to come for a conditional use permit for a restaurant or for this?
Yes, so restaurants, cafes, any food establishment is conditional use in the Village Preservation District.
And if a business changes, they have to come back for if a new business moves in behind an old one, they have to come in as well?
Correct. So if a new business, let's say Sunset Slush, decided to move elsewhere, if another business wanted to use Sunset Slush's location, then they wouldn't need a new conditional use.
Okay.
But if there is a new unit, so we have 3, this would be the 3rd. If it were to be approved, if let's say a 4th were to come through, that would need a new conditional use permit if it didn't use one of the existing tenants.
So this building's divided into units,
Correct. 10 separate units.
like parcel IDs?
1 parcel ID, 10 separate units.
Okay, addresses.
Correct.
Okay.
Christopher, is there any parking requirements for this spot?
So there wouldn't be a change in parking as it's an existing operation.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for staff?
Is the grease trap part of this pre-treatment requirement?
Yes, so they currently have a 10-gallon per minute grease trap, and they need to upgrade to a 35-gallon per minute.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I recommend approval with the following condition, that CUP-25-1 must meet pretreatment requirements of JWSC by May 31st, 2025.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Any opposed? Carries unanimous. Thank you.
Congrats.
Next item on the agenda is ZM-25-5, St. Simons Airport Plan Development District Amendment.
Good evening, Christopher Carey again. This is ZM 25-5. It is a rezoning or a zoning amendment of the airport PD over at St. Simons. Parcel ID is 04-02922. Property is zoned plan development. And the Airport Commission is here as well to speak on behalf of the application, as well as the County Attorney Office. Here's the site. So again, this is a zoning amendment. The airport is requesting to change a few different items in the plan development district. The primary changes are the adding of a restaurant as an allowed use, removing the prohibition on banquet facilities, adding commercial kitchen as an allowed use, and amending the language for the canopy provisions for the tree requirements to comply with FAA regulations. The Airport Commission has indicated an interest from tenants to operate food trucks, which would require a restaurant to be an allowed use. Currently, no restaurants are allowed. The plan development was amended in 2019 to allow for a coffee shop and limited cafe items. And additionally, utilizing property for events has been an interest, and plan development currently prohibits banquet facilities. So here are the area to be amended. Track B, which is nearby the roundabout and just off of the southern hangars. So these will be the only areas allowed to have those restaurant uses. And here's an enlarged exhibit. And here's an excerpt of the plan development text to be amended. And these are your possible motions. And as stated, the airport is available to speak on behalf of the application as well.
Chris, can you go back to the map, the two purple highlighted areas? So this is the Skylane Road section, the track, the lower track, is that right?
Yes, so right here is Skylane Road, and here is the industrial part.
Okay, so it's just the two purple areas?
Correct.
Yeah, this East Beach.
So does any part of the top portion of B include any hangars? Or no, that's all not hangars?
Yeah, this is all commercial space. All of
Okay.
the hangars are
In the
right
green?
here,
Okay, perfect.
over here.
Just we're on the same page.
Chris, on this map that you have up, are the black dots the same as the access point arrows on the other?
Yes, yes, they're labeled as access, the black dots. Those are the different access points along
Okay.
here.
Do you mind pulling up that access point map again? Okay, so the primary access points are in that main section where the commercial buildings are.
Correct.
And then the other one is just that road that would lead to where they're bringing all the hurricane debris. Is that correct? The one at the bottom in B?
So that lower one is like floor decor and the nursery and all that?
Restoration.
Restoration
imports,
imports.
all that.
That
Okay.
is correct.
What is the reason for changing the name?
The airport did recently have a name change, so this would be a formalization, an additional formalization of that.
Okay. Any other questions for staff?
I have one question. When it says to amend the language related to tree canopy revisions to comply with federal airport safety standards, can you go over how exactly that would amend our tree canopy standards?
So it would only amend that on this property. The primary reason for that change is every time we have a site plan application, the applicants have to request a buffer modification because FAA requirements prohibit the planting of large canopy trees. And the tree canopy requirements in the tree plan and in our buffer standards request large canopy trees.
Would the tree canopy portion of it also only apply to these two sections of B, the purple ones?
No,
Or would the tree canopy part apply to the whole airport?
It would be to the whole airport plan
Okay.
development.
Okay.
I have a question. I'm not sure if you specifically know the answer, but I know, I don't know the exact time range, maybe a year to a year and a half ago, this was a big thing with Uncle Don's where he had the honor market, and they said he had to leave because of the standards, I think, of something to do with the tree canopy and the height and everything. They had to get rid of that business there. So would this say that future businesses could be there, or how does it affect stuff like that? Do y'all?
The airport will talk about that.
Okay. I was just curious. I know that's why.
These are all good questions. I'm Robert Berner. I'm the Executive Director of the Glynn County Airport Commission. These are excellent questions, and I'd definitely like to clear up, where we've been and where we'd like to go. Specifically, your question, we have to meet, the airports were originally developed, actually a combination of the county and Sea Island back in the 1930s. The federal government took over the airport during World War II, and then after World War II, they deeded the airport to the county specifically to run an airport under their guidance and their regulations, and that's what we're doing continuously. That's what we do every day. So our primary mission is actually to provide a airport to enter the national airspace system for the community and the development of this local area for that special purpose. Additional land that the FAA agrees with is not necessarily needed immediately or during the long term for the airport function exactly. We are able to lease out to, we don't sell the land, but to lease out to entities, private enterprises. That gives us additional revenue. Actually, these airports do not take any local tax base from this county, which is very unusual for the operation and maintenance of the facilities. So as we operate these airports, we developed this PD text. We revised it probably over 10 years ago to identify 3 tracks. Track A, which is the green section, is basically where you could operate an aircraft. Track B is the area that we're already talking about as far as the restaurant, and Track C is more industrial use. So we worked with the county at that time to say, well, what's best for the county, how we could develop this land and still meet our standards. And that's been working real well. These are little tweaks to the system, especially for the tree issues that Uncle mentioned. That we call it the what we call it? It was the farmers market operation, which was kind of nice. Well, we have to meet design standards. The FAA routinely updates their design standards, and they said with certain areas, certain things can happen. Some have to do with height, that's where we're talking about trees, and some have to do with what you could use with the land for. That land is operated by owned by the airport, and it's slated to be a RPZ, which basically not used for public congestion if the airport owns it. So we couldn't have that piece of land be an area where people could assemble, and that's why that facility had to be closed down, if you would. The operator for Don, we advised him that when we're doing a review of our design standards, that his lease was very temporary. Actually, it was less than a year, And we advised him in advance that it's only going to be short-term because we knew that would happen. And it did happen, and basically he has another location on the island that he can operate from. That's the history behind that. Did I answer your question on that piece?
Yes.
Okay. And the other pieces, I'll be glad to answer any other questions about what we're trying to accomplish here.
So I have a question, the lower parcel that's the Restoration Imports area, is that all completely developed, or is there
Which area?
room for more building?
The Moore Court area, that area is, we use it as for support right now for temporary areas. That's in our master plan for future aviation growth, for additional operators for aviation purposes. So part of it is the Florida Core, which is not commercial, and part of it will actually be used for aviation purposes.
So the area where they're doing the hurricane cleanup, is that gonna be strictly aviation, or is it?
The majority of that will be aviation. There's just a small piece of it that could further have a piece of non-commercial use, if we get FAA approval for that.
Okay. Did you have a question?
What is most of that, you said that there was interest from tenants to support these types of food trucks. Is it just food trucks as far as you know, or what's the banquet aspect of it
Yeah,
as well?
most of Track B actually is already developed. Most islands are very desirable, as you know, and so we already have a little land for future development. The parcel in question is the area across from our fixed base operator. That's where basically the terminal for St. Simon's Island. It's where actually was previously leased to CPAC or Rich Foods at one time. They relinquished, and it was basically used for processing of fish a long time ago. You know, the little history was when they used to catch the fish and put them on the airplane, and when they go to altitude, they used to freeze. And they said, that's how they used to freeze the fish, fly up north. This is back in the 30s and the 40s, if you would. Rich relinquished that property back to the Airport Commission, and we basically developed it for support of what we wanted. So basically what we did is we had a plan for the airport to meet our customer need. As you know, we replaced the terminal building with private money, a beautiful facility, fixed base operating facility there. We had a hotel adjacent to it because that's hotels and airports kind of go together. And the Airport Commission wanted a food establishment. Track A, right now, currently allows a restaurant across the street from what we're talking about right now. And so we had no place in Track A for restaurants. Why don't we basically solicit operators who would put a food establishment right across the street, so people go to the hotel, they just sort of driving somewhere, they walk across the street for a restaurant. So that's been the desire of the Airport Commission, to have a restaurant facility in that location. We got a private vendor who actually did catering and actually took the property with the promise that he would further develop into a catering facility and a restaurant and a small banquet facility. And that's the goal we're trying to achieve. We've been frustrated in the past a few times, and we only got partial issues. Like Wake Up Coffee was allowed a few years ago as a type of restaurant, but the restriction in that Track B for no restaurant remained, which to us doesn't make any sense. And right now the tenant that has controlling interest of that property wants to develop, has plans or committed to us to have a restaurant, or if he wants to sell it, the new vendor would have to put in a type of restaurant for that facility to meet our development goals. I said a lot, was I okay?
No, you answered my question, thank you. And then just, if you could elaborate, I'm just curious, what was the background history of the name change to get to the St. Simon's Airport?
Yeah, that's a good question. The original name of the airport is McKinnon Field. McKinnon has historical name when they first developed the airport. Over time, it's had several names. It became McKinnon Field, Malcolm McKinnon Airports, St. Simon's Island Airport. And then just recently, because we had a safety committee to put together, and we have Jekyll Island Airport, we have this airport, St. Simon's Island Airport, and we have Brunswick Airport. And there's some confusion among pilots when they're on the radio frequency, because all airports don't have control towers, so the pilots talk to each other. They have to clearly identify where they're flying to, where they're not. And the safety committee came up with a recommendation is we really got to identify these facilities where you actually need to go, and usually identified with the city or the place you're landing. So we reverted back to McKinnon Field. So basically the official name is the St. Simon's Island Airport and McKinnon Field. So that we went back to the original name of McKinnon to keep that name, but for safety reasons, operational issues, we identified for St. Simon's Island, and then we have Brunswick Airport. And that's been very successful as far as being a safety operation. Those are all good questions.
I got a question, just a history question. Who originally submitted or the PD text as it is? You know?
Well, actually,
What entity?
the airport is owned by the county. So the county has full control of what's developed, what's leased, or whatever. The county leases the facility to the development authority, because that's what airports are. They're basically tools for economic development. And for operating the airport, where they created the Airport Commission, which I represent a body of the board of the Airport Commission, who basically runs the day-to-day operation of it. So what we do is we lease it again to private enterprises. They do the investment in the facility. We basically lease land. They put the capital investment in. That's why we don't drive from any local tax base. They put the improvements to the facility. So
the county wrote it.
So technically, the county is the proponent of this, because they're the landowner. We're an agency of the county. We're working with the county to make it happen. So we initiated to the county this PD tax. If that answers a long answer to a short question.
And it came after it was given back to the county? I mean, this wasn't a county Sea Island document before.
No, I'm just talking about currently.
Yeah.
Sea Island has nothing to do with this right now.
Right, previously though.
Originally when the airport was developed?
Yeah.
Oh, well, Sea Island recognized that, this is when Sea Island was first developed in the 1930s, that they wanted to understand that aviation was the demographics they want for travel. And so it's very typical. So they and the county got together, and Sea Island donated most of the land, actually most of the land for the airport, and there were some other properties that were involved in also, and the airport was expanded minorly over the time. But then again, World War II, the military took over a lot of civilian fields, and this is one of them for national defense, and they operated there. This is where they had the King and Prince Hotel was a training facility during the World War II. And a lot of airports became surplus. Actually, a lot of airports in this country have the same heritage. World War II, military built airports all over the country, turned them to local communities to build the national airspace system of airports, airways, and we're just typical of that. Did I answer that?
Sure.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Sure.
I kind of directed your question. Sorry.
We're going to get you to come back and give us some more history lessons.
I like to know where we came from. I like to know where we came from.
It's interesting.
Last question for me. With this potential restaurant and the vendors you've been in discussion with at the CPAC building, would that be for public use, whatever goes there, or would it just be for airport travelers?
This affects the entire B track, but most track B is already developed. The lot that's currently looking to be developed, I said right now there is a flight kitchen on the facility, full kitchen that caters actually to events off the airport at the locations, weddings, whatever, and also caters to, when flights come in, they're usually catered on the airplane. It's called a flight kitchen. You fly in, you usually bring food on the airplane. So that was very compatible with the airport. And so we want to add to that a public facility for the public to have a restaurant facility, and also it's not too big of available land, but it would basically be if they wanted to do a small event, banquet facility or something like that, that would lend itself to that purpose.
Thank you.
How big would the banquet facility be?
How big?
In terms of how many people?
We had some, I mean, right now we lease that property to a third party entity that has these options to go with. They haven't been specific. It's basically square footage. They'll have to follow all county rules, all procedures, everything as far as square footage and parking, all those rules will have to be followed.
I have a question, this is just general. So I know that there's a number of events that are already going on in hangars, weddings, all sorts of corporate, charity, different things, and then some people use it for their commercial ventures that maybe are advised or not advised by the airport authority. But I was just wondering, what do you think the long-term impact that this will have on the hangars actually becoming venues and spaces like that? And have y'all talked to the other owners of the other hangars around nearby?
That's a very good point, and that's another encouragement why the Airport Commission, we always, our tenants, we don't own any hangars, so tenants own hangars. They constantly give you approach for people who want to do special events on the hangars. Hangars are really designed for airplanes. We have to get special permission from the FAA every time that happens, because we can't lose our mission to make it happen. If you pay big money to put your airplane in a hangar, you don't want to be moving around for other things. But they want to be help to the community. Having a small banquet facility that can relieve that pressure would be definitely an advantage to the operation. So building a banquet facility would help us as running the airport.
So I think that means in turn we'll probably see an increase in events potentially from hangars at the airport?
Well, if they do the special events, they're required to charge. We have another requirement for the federal government. If we do a not aviation event, we have to do fair market value. There is a requirement to have a compensation consideration on that.
I think I'm understanding the commissioner's question, but this is not related to Track A,
Track A is, no.
which is where the hangars are.
The only thing that affects all three tracks has to do with the tree canopy issue, that we can't, obviously, we have to meet standards. We can't plant a tree that's we have to only be 10 feet tall, and we have to cut it. It makes no sense.
Okay.
So we want to continue to landscape, and we do landscape, and we plant trees. And every project is looked at how tall can we put things.
Right.
So, and we love trees. Actually, the commission wants to make it very clear that we want to encourage landscaping and beautification of the island. Just we can't have certain areas, we can't have certain heights. That's all.
Okay. Any other questions for that?
I'm here to answer more questions. All right.
We'll now open the public hearing portion of the meeting. Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of the project? If you have something else to say, please come ahead. Anyone that would like to speak in opposition of the project?
Hi, my name is Han Glover, and I live in the old house right behind on Demery, the White House back there. So we just got noticed like a couple weeks ago, so I didn't know how long this process takes to like get everything in rows so that you guys approve or not. If today's like a voting day or something, so for us it's just new news, and there's a lot of things that's really vague about it, so it directly affects us, our property value and everything else. And also, there's no details on like the access roads. Are you guys cutting into Demery for these access roads, or?
If you'll just give me your questions, I'll try to
Oh,
get them
okay,
answered.
I'm sorry.
We can go back to I asked him to pull up a map earlier that would show you the access points.
Okay.
So there.
Well, I saw it, but I just wasn't.
And those are all existing.
Oh, okay, so there's no new ones.
And where your home is located, there wouldn't be any access points on that portion of Demery. It would be the road that is an existing road now that comes in where Restoration Imports is and
Okay,
goes
the
back to
same
where
road.
Correct. That would be the access point for everything behind your home.
Okay, thank you. And where would the food trucks go and the restaurant? Is it on that lot? Because I just didn't know where it was on B.
The applicant can speak to that. What we're discussing now, I know it's a blanket change, but it's the building that is located in between Island Imports and Rich CPAC.
So, so it's already built? The
Correct,
building?
yeah,
Yes,
this is not for a
okay.
new building
Okay, okay,
or anything.
okay.
And I think it's primarily, it sounds like, I'll let the applicant speak to this, but sounds like a place to load food trucks and
Okay.
out of the catering business, but I'll let them clarify that. But any other questions you have, just let us know. We'll be happy to get them answered for you.
Great. So is this a date today? Are you guys deciding on pushing forward or not?
What the process would be, if we vote in favor of it today, it would then go to the county commissioners for them to vote on it.
Okay.
So basically what we're doing is recommending it to them, for them to, and it'll be the same process there. It'll be a
Right,
public
so it'll be-
hearing. You'll, if you have more questions, you'll be able to get them answered there, and any more concerns. So that would be the basic process.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition of the project?
Okay. Can I ask a question of the Airport Authority?
Yeah, sure.
So I have a question for the Airport Authority, if you don't mind. Sure. I just want to clarify so that hopefully we're all on the same page. So I was just wondering if you're saying as a general statement or concept, is authorizing this new building with the banquet kitchen and everything, is kind of the goal or idea of that, that then events, weddings, whatever, let's say it's corporate or nonprofit that people want to run, that they would be running it out of that building instead of their hangars. Is that what we're saying?
We would definitely, the only reason why we approve the tenants to have an event in their hangar is for the benefit of the tenant. That's not our mission. We don't encourage that at all. Some of our tenants have now decided that's not in their best interest because of the problems associated with that. We have a process and procedure where they could get approval. We don't plan on changing that. So we think hopefully it'll be minimized. That's our hope. Seem to have more questions on here.
No, I'm just trying to understand the long-term plan and vision.
And if I could answer a little bit about the gentleman's property, all this property has a buffer between where we develop and the residential area and his property, and actually between our property and his property is not our airport property. There's a buffer that's owned by the county.
Okay.
Buffer's considerable, isn't it?
Excuse me?
The buffer's considerably large, isn't it?
Yeah, it's owned by the county. It's owned by the county. It's not even, and actually, the airport has, the county has, the land between it is the county, and then we have additional buffer owned by the airport.
Okay.
Do you have an overarching vision for, I know we're talking about one restaurant, we're talking about a 10-year plan, so I've lived here 10 years, a lot's changed in the past 10 years. So are we really talking about, I mean, if this gets rezoned and everything, so we're talking about one restaurant, do you guys have an overarching plan for 1, 2, 3? I mean, do we have more of an idea for your long-term vision for 10-year plan, for example?
Well, I said most of these lots are already built out for the purpose there currently is. When our tenants choose to lease this piece of property, it's for a specific use. So not only if you even have approved this, whenever, we've already approved the idea of a restaurant in this location. If anyone else, the airport commission and even the county has final approval whether they even want that facility there, regardless of the zoning. So the control is fully with the county on these properties and the airport commission and somewhat, and even the development authority. So we want a comprehensive plan that works for the community, works for the airport, and is very compatible with what we want to accomplish.
Any other questions? We'll now close the public hearing portion of this agenda item. Any discussion? Oh, sure. Do we need to reopen the public hearing?
Yeah, sure. I think it's in your discretion whether to do that, and so you can officially reopen it.
Okay, we'll reopen the public hearing portion.
I apologize. It's just,
No problem.
I too live at 1605 Demery Road, and my husband was asking about the access points because there are two, and you can barely see it from this. So if you can zoom in on that, perhaps that other picture, there's two access points. There's two arrows coming from Demery that don't seem to exist right now. So I was just confused about those access points because right now there's no access points there.
I think the one on the lower end is actually Skyline Road, I believe.
So they're small black arrows. It's not the large arrows. They're small black arrows that are from Demery Road inward, and it says if they go through trying to access that area B.
Is this the one right here?
No.
Is it further down?
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere?
Will you go to the next one where it's more zoomed in? Do you know what number it is?
It's on the other side.
Yeah.
Chris, all these numbers 1 through 22, I guess 23, that one's not numbered at the bottom. This is an existing access survey. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Right.
It is either existing or it is already master planned to have an access point at that location.
Okay, so every single black arrow then has an access point?
Yes, every location is either an existing access point or it is master planned to have an access point at that location.
Oh, okay.
We're already
It's
approved.
already approved.
Yeah, it's already approved.
It's already been approved?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? We'll now close the public hearing. Any discussion? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'll recommend approval of the proposed zoning decision as presented.
I will second.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? It's unanimous. We'll move on to our final item, which is TA-24-1, County-Initiated Text Amendment.
Good evening. So this is a housekeeping item. I believe it did come before you previously, but we have to redo it again. But this is consideration of a county-initiated amendment to the Glenn County zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations to change references from Community Development Director and Community Development Department to Planning and Zoning Director and Planning and Zoning Department, and for other purposes. So essentially, we had a reorganization and pulled apart the building department and separated planning and zoning. Now they are two separate departments.
Any questions for staff? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We will now open the public hearing portion of the meeting regarding this agenda item. Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of it? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition of it? We will close the public hearing portion on this agenda item. Any discussion? Do we have a motion?
I move to recommend approval of TA-24-1 as presented.
A second.
A second.
All in favor? Any opposed? It's unanimous.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Let's adjourn. Thank you to everyone. Thank y'all for coming.
If